Okay, we'll push the live stream into the group. Just figured I'd try that out. I like doing that from Zoom sometimes. For anybody who uses Zoom, it's kind of a handy feature. You can just kind of link straight in there. So let me just check here. Expecting one of my teammates, Arp, or maybe Shane to show up, but I can get started with the content today. So where we are is we are on one of Thanks.io's weekly workshop webinars, which we've done from time to time, and I'm hoping to kick off a little more frequently. We're currently doing them Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time at 12 o'clock. And the idea is we'll kind of dig into some functionality. There's Art. We'll dig into some functionality with Thanks.io. And then we will just take questions and answers and help anybody who might be on, who might want to, get a little assistance getting going with the platform or getting any questions answered. So, I have a little itinerary here. Art, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Your audio is great. I don't know if anybody here has interacted with ARP yet, but ARP's kind of our resident designer. And you help design campaigns and do some automations and different things as well, right?
Yep. I kind of just, whenever someone needs some help with design, there's usually a couple of other things they need to, so I make sure I try to cover those bases.
Yeah, and just for anybody who doesn't know, if you're on the Thanks.io business plan, you kind of get access to ARP and you get access to Shane and some other team members as you need things done for you. Generally we do it at no extra charge. It's just kind of help you get sending with Thanks.io. So that said, the purpose of today is to just give you an overview of the different design options within the system. So I'm going to jump right in, and ARP's going to help me out once we get to actually building something. I'm in our main dashboard where we have tons of different ideas and things we've tried out. You can kind of see some of the designs we've built in-house. The really ugly ones are me, the ones with the arrows and that look like a marketer, like an old shady direct response marketing. Those are me, but some of these other ones are pretty nice that Justin and other members of the team have done. So we have the postcard designs right here. And the page that I'm on is image templates. And you all have this page in your dashboard, image templates. And then you'll see that it's separated into postcards. There's a section for letters. There'll be a section for note cards and gift cards, which use the same kind of sizing and design. Both note cards and gift cards are kind of the same thing. And the way that we create designs in the system, two main ways, or one, you can upload your own. So if I click on the button up here that says upload postcard, you'll notice that before you upload, and I know this might be small on your screen, so let me see if I can make this bigger. You'll see that it does tell you the file dimensions that are suggested. Now you can upload your own kind of size and it'll adjust, but ARP, you'll probably concur that you want to keep it as close as possible, or it might start to get blurry or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, definitely. The larger the picture that you want to upload, the better.
Yeah, so try to get closer to the size. There is a PSD template, which is, I believe, the Photoshop kind of standard. I have no idea how to use Photoshop. You'll need a guy like ARP or somebody or knowledge of Photoshop to use that. But if you want to design outside of the system, it's very easy to do. You just get your file going and you just click and you upload your files. So very easy to do there. But what I was hoping to focus on today was this design option right here. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that it lets you know that we do use Canva. And then it's going to ask you to either create, if you don't have a Canva account, you can create one for free. I have been on a free Canva. I have never upgraded. I probably should. But I've been able to do all those designs you just saw. I think I did most of them on a free account over the years. I might have paid here and there for a custom image, but you just go ahead, you log on in. Let me hit my login with Facebook here. And then once you're logged into Canva, you'll see you get the Canva experience inside of Thanks. You can kind of still see Thanks in the back. And then I'm going to let ARP, let me see. Let me just walk through. I'll make something really quick and ugly, and then maybe ARP, I'll let you maybe build something. That's cool.
Okay, sure.
So maybe you want to get this open in your computer if you don't already have it already. But if I come in here, I know we have a lot of real estate people, and I search real estate in Canva's library, it'll kind of pop me up a bunch of options. So let's just say I want to send a just sold card. I can pick this one off the top. And it's pretty easy to start to mess with this. It's pretty intuitive. Like I could change this picture out, upload a new picture, pop it in there. Let's just grab Shelley Levine here, put him in here, and you can move things around. pretty self-explanatory. Now I'm going to let ARP design a card, maybe for one of you guys who are watching, if you want to be a guinea pig, or we'll just let ARP do one from scratch. But the thing I want to show you first, just to give you an idea about this, the integration, is that I can now click Save Postcard, and it'll pull it right into the system. It'll give me a quick preview. A little bit of a pro tip, just so you remember what they are when you're building campaigns and things like that, is to rename what it is. So I'll call this Shelly Levine, because a lot of the names of our images are what are referenced when you're building campaigns, or if you're sending from Zapier or doing other automations, you want to know what it's called. So I like to rename mine real quick. Click Save, and then I can close out, and I should see it kind of refresh and show up right here at the top left. So that's the basics of the integration. It's not that complicated. Where things get complicated is when people, when you start to design your own stuff and you get, I don't know how to say it, you try to overthink it. I think a lot of people do that, ARP, right? They try to get really complicated and make something really showy and crazy, when really you just need something clean, efficient, does a call to action maybe. And I'm going to let ARP maybe take over the screen and walk through the process of building one, and then you'll learn some of the ins and outs of building a Canva card. Cool, ARP?
Yeah. Did you want me to do it in the Canva integration in the dashboard, or from Canva itself?
I don't know that it matters. Just to show the use of Canva, whatever's easier for you.
All right. Yeah, I'll use Canva, since that's what I tend to use for customers.
Okay. And let me make sure that you have access to share.
Make sure
you should have access to share now. And if you don't, let me know.
Okay, so here goes. Let me know when you see my screen.
I do. Yep.
Okay, so this is my Canva. It's actually our main Thanks.io design account, and you can see that there are a lot of designs here that I've done for customers, along with various uploads. So I'm just going to make one from scratch. I think that might be the best approach. So I'm going to head up here to create a design. Now, the one reason I do want to mention that this might be an option is that sometimes customers ask for a template that they could edit. And if they'd like to do that, then they would need a regular canva.com account that they can add the template to their account. So for example, I might make a design for them. It could be for selling a house. Maybe they would want another copy of it that they could use for a different campaign with a different target audience.
So you're able to, when we do the custom service in-house, you're able to share a link that they can pull into their account.
Yes. So anytime I do that, I always give them the graphic to upload, but if they'd like, they can have a copy of a link to the template to add to their own Canva account. So that way they don't have to always ask me for something when let's say they just want to, change their phone number or something like that. I don't want to be a roadblock for our customers.
Great.
Okay.
I love that. What's your home worth with the QR in the middle there? My eyes going right to that.
Oh, that one was interesting. That one was the John asked me to basically copy a web page.
Oh.
So on the web page, instead of the QR code, I have the search box, but obviously that doesn't work as well for a postcard.
Yeah, it's cool. Cool concept.
Yeah, so when you go to create a design in Canva, you're actually going to want to use a custom size, because they do have a postcard option, but that's not specific to the dimensions of our postcard. And Canva remembers your recent custom dimensions. So this 1875 by 1275 pixels is our postcard size, which will work for both 4x6 and 6x9 postcards. Cool. So while they have many templates, a lot of times I will just start from scratch. And one of the things that, of course, customers like is that they need to add images of themselves. So let's say you're doing some real estate. Let's say, okay, let's say we'll do something for EXP. So let me grab an EXP logo. Here's one. I'm just going to shrink it a little bit so it's down here. Now, when you're using Canva, you'll notice that there's this little pink box that shows up. That's a really good thing to keep all the elements that you don't want cut off inside. That gives plenty of space outside the edges. So whatever.
Is that the border of the dimension? Oh, I see.
This is actually the border of, I guess for a typical postcard, what's safe. I mean, ours is a little different. I can show you that too. So here is our dimensions. Anything in this red border will get cut off. Anything in this blue border might get cut off. So just to be safe, I would assume that this edge is going to be the cutoff. So whenever you have an element, you notice this pink line gives you a little bit space around the edge. So that way you won't have like what looks like your logo almost getting cut off. So this pink line is a good thing to keep all of the important elements wrapped in it.
Canva does that by default, that it just gives you this kind of guideline.
Yeah, anytime you're moving around, you'll see Canva will do things like it'll let you know where's the center. So that's the vertical center. And this is the, horizontal center. Did I say that right? That makes sense? Okay, so Canva will let you know. Canva will also do something cool, which is Canva will let you align to different elements. So let's say if I put in, let's say I add a little, let's use this text. And if I put this right here, now when I move this EXP logo, Canva will let me know when I am lined up with it. So you can center something very easily. Canva is really good about that. So it's really easy to use. One of the things that I do get asked quite frequently is that obviously when, for example, if you're a real estate person or any other sort of kind of service-oriented industry, you want to put a face to your business. So people are always adding their portraits. So let me just find a picture of someone here. Looks kind of businessy. Here it goes. Now, if you have a pro Canva account, which we do, it does do one thing that's very cool, which is if you go to edit image, it has an option to remove the background, which I use quite a bit because it lets us add pictures of people without having this box that kind of dominates an image.
Oh, cool. Was that I missed that. Is that a premium feature or is that on the free Canva?
It is a Canva Pro account, and it does a fantastic job too. So you can do that, then hit apply. They also have filters. So if you like to have filters like you use in Instagram, they have a whole variety of filters. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make pictures look really nice. You can get the type of feel and vibe that you want for a postcard. All right, so let's say maybe she is a person who works for EXP. I'm going to put this in the corner where I know it's not going to get cut off. And in this case, I'm going to match her up to this, just about to the edge. You can actually once you remove the background, you can actually pull the edges a little bit closer so that you can line it up with different parts of the postcard. In this case, I just lined it up just so that the right part on this side won't get cut off, but it's okay if it's cut off here because it'll look like this body is coming out from the bottom of the card. And if we want the EXP logo to line up with it, we just drag it over until it's there. The next thing usually we'll add a headline. And if you click off something, let's say you want to move a specific Canva element, if you click off and click off to the side, off the canvas, and then mouse over, you can see how it'll show you the different elements. And then you can, once you're over the one you want, you can just click and drag. And then to adjust how much space it takes up, you can always adjust the size with these either at the corners or at the edges. So let's say, I'll just make it really simple. Let's say sold. And we'll line this up. I'm going to left line this. There we go. So that this is lined up properly. Now we might want to change the fonts. So once this is selected, if you select the fonts, you have a huge selection of fonts. A lot of the fonts that are used on websites through Google Fonts are going to be available. So whatever you're looking for, chances are you will find something. So let's say you want something a little bit more like old school looking, looks like maybe it came out from a nice classic newspaper. That's probably the type of font you could use. Canva also has a cool thing where once you have pictures and graphics that you have added, you can actually match a color. So I'm going to click this color option for the text, and now I can get that blue from the EXP logo or the orange, or these 5 colors from the photo that I added. So let's go with the EXP orange. It's nice bold sold.
So it just puts them there automatically.
Yeah, as soon as you upload a graphic into Canva, it grabs the images. So it's really good for using with logos. So that way you can brand the card very easily.
Yeah, and it doesn't look, if you're colorblind, it doesn't look gaudy or anything. It's just,
it just kind of matches.
Yeah.
Okay, so you probably want to add a heading, maybe a little subheading. Let's say it's something like sold for say 20K more than asking.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna left line that again. And now we'll see. I want to line that up here. Now, if you drag the width, Canva will automatically just push the text to the next line if there's not enough space. So that way we can make sure that, let's say we only want the text to take up maybe half of the space on the card. That's how we can do it. And Canva will also let you adjust the spacing between the letters and also between the lines. So we can make it look just right. We're going to change this font. Let's see, what do we use here? Libre Baskerville. Let's do that same one so it looks kind of simple. Libre.
So would you say that keeping your fonts kind of consistent is a good rule of thumb?
Well, usually I would say like you want to use no more than 2 fonts. And I would tend to avoid using the same fonts that are in logo because you want your logo to look special. You want your logo to be distinctive. So in this case, let's say if you use what's called a serif font because it's got those little things at the end like the S does, at the S or the L. This is a sans serif font that doesn't have those little lines at the end of the lines.
Okay, that's a good tip.
You can do a combo you can keep it the same or you can use a combo of 2, but I wouldn't use more than 2.
Okay. So
I'm going to change the color of this to EXP blue so that it looks more consistent. And let's see. Well, you know what we actually need here? Can't really sell a house without having a picture of a house.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. Now, Canva has a nice selection of photos. Obviously, you probably, if you're real estate, if you're a realtor, you're probably going to want to upload an actual picture of the property that you're talking about.
Can you show the upload?
Yep. Yeah. So in the upload area, I have a number of things that have uploaded, like from customers, like their portraits, QR codes, houses, and logos, and so forth. So, okay, I'll just grab this one here. You can click on it. Now, if you want this to be the background of your postcard, you can right-click on it, and there's an option here that says Set Images Background.
Oh.
Now that looks a little busy, so we're going to work on that a bit. But
that's a good tip, though.
Yeah. If you want to make it so that you see, like, let's say we want less driveway. If you double-click on it, you'll see the image, and now you can drag the corners and move it around. So we can increase the size a bit. Okay, we do it like that. We're going to see less driveway.
Okay.
And click down in there. That's a little different. Sometimes what we can do is if we have something where we'd really like to use these, but it's a little busy in the background, it's hard to read, we can easily put something behind it to make it readable. So if you go over to the elements, there's a selection of lines and shapes. And if you click the square, now it puts it into one of the colors, using one of the colors that we've already used in the card. I'm going to change this to white. And we can drag it so that it fits behind there. So that's readable. The only problem is we can't see the logo. The logo's disappeared. So everything that's on a postcard is on a layer. So imagine if you're making a sandwich, like you'd have a slice of bread, you'd have maybe some salami, maybe some turkey and cheese. If you right-click on an element, you also have the option to send back or bring forward. There's also the option, send backward means send all the way to the back, and bring to the front brings all the way to the front. So if I do bring to the front right now, it will end up being above the sold, and the sold will not be visible. What I want to do is I want to send it back. I click send it back. There we go. Now we can see both of these. Now remember that these edges are going to be cut off, so we don't have to make this logo, for example, be perfectly in the middle of this bar because we want to make sure that the logo stays within the safe area. So we can do that same thing down here. And one of the things that's also fun is that you could copy elements. If you already made a bar, you like the way it looks, if you right click on it, you can copy. And then if you right click on it again, you can paste. There's a bar. We're going to bring this down here. And I'm going to, again, send it back so that we can see both the photo of the person as well as the headline that we're using. So that's kind of the basics. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, you use it, you know, it has a little learning curve, but once you get a hang of it, it's pretty straightforward.
I'm going to be way better at this now, Arp. I never thought to do the shape and then have the image superimposes the actual background. That's cool. Yeah, very cool. Let me see if there's any questions. There was a question about whether or not these can be downloaded and then re-uploaded. And I think the answer to that is you just click the share at the top right, right,
Yep.
Arp?
Yep. All we do is go to share, and there's the download option. And for the file type, we do want to use PNGs. The size is fine. And then we just click download. And then it'll download to wherever your default download folder is on your computer.
Can you show a little bit about the elements? Just the I'm a big fan of the arrows. You know, there's opinions about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I like to use the arrows to tell people to turn the card over for the QR code.
Yeah.
Okay. So Canva has a huge selection of elements of various kinds. So in fact, they have a whole arrow section because they know that people need arrows. So what's cool about the arrows is that most of them that are a solid color, like this one's white. Let's say, that's not really, that might not work well. Let's say if you wanted to use it over here or down here, but once you have an element like that's a single color selected, most of the time you can click on the color option and change the color. So we can make this the EXP orange, or we can pull a color from the house, like the green from the house, or pull a color from the portrait of the person, like this blue. So in this case, let's say we'll use the orange because that's pretty visible. And I kind of want it, let's say I want it down here, but it's kind of pointing in the wrong direction. What we can do is go over here to where it says flip, and then we can flip it either horizontally or vertically. So I'm going to flip it horizontally. It gives you a nice little arrow to show you how that works. Ah, cool. So it can be down here. And the only thing I kind of wish it were angled a little bit differently. You can see that there's this little option here. If you mouse over it and click and hold, you can change that angle, and then you can drag the corners to resize it. So maybe I want a little bit smaller, so it's down here. Oh, and I do want to keep it so that it's inside the safe area. So that's one element that we could use. They have tons of other elements. Like I made a St. Patrick's Day card for someone by just going up here and looking for leprechaun, and they have a whole selection of leprechauns. So pretty much anything you can do. Like if you want to make holiday cards, then the elements are your best bet.
Great. Yeah, this was really good, Art. There's a question here about can thanks do dynamic text on the front of the cards over the graphics? A little more complicated. I do believe Shane on our team is working on building something, and we're looking at building some functionality to do that. There are also things like hyperise.com, HYPERISE, that would enable you to dynamically generate things on the top images that get put on our cards, but that happens via API and Zapier. It's pretty complicated. But for anybody who's geeky and wants to check that out, hyperise.com. And then the other question there, Jeffrey, thank you for these, is can thanks today do a screen grab of a Google Street View to put on the front of the postcard? That's an idea I've had many times. We just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. That said, you can figure that out via the API and Zapier. It is doable.
Yeah, it's just not doable in Canva.
Yeah, right now it wouldn't be a Canva thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Art, this is really cool. Any suggestions, for copywriting on the front of the cards? Do you have any? You've probably seen people who want to get really wordy on the front.
Yeah, some people do, and I think it depends on the person, because I think for some folks it's their thing, like it matches a lot of what their other materials are, but for the most part, the best approach is to keep it as simple as possible. Have a headline, have another, I'm
Call to
totally
action.
blanking on. Yeah, call to action. And then you want to have some credibility indicators. So in this case, let's say if I remove this, I could make this a little bit smaller, and I could add some text so that people know who is the person who's sending them the card. So I'm going to add a little bit of body text. I'm going to drag this down here and right align it, which means it'll be aligned to the body, and then maybe just add a name. So let's say her name is Jennifer Jones, EXP Realtor, and maybe you should want to add a phone number like
Yeah.
And now, we probably want a different font. We can stick to the same font we have. It'll usually let you, it'll remember the last thing you searched, so that Libre Basketball shows up right away. And then I would shrink this so that you want to make sure that it doesn't get cut off. And then for other credibility indicators, especially for, let's say, realtors, besides your logos, you probably want, like the equal housing or the realtor logo and so forth.
Yeah, it makes it look more polished and like you said, credible. Another big thing I'm a fan of, and you don't have to do this, but I like to always reference what's on the other side of the card. So with the arrow, I might say, scan the QR code on the other side of this card to see what your house is worth, or something like that.
Or flip the card to like learn more.
Yeah, flip to learn more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one thing I want to mention, usually when I do something like this where I have some contact information, I like to bold just the first line, because the name's kind of important, and you want to make sure that catches the eye, and then they'll see, oh, it's Jennifer Jones, EXP Realtor, and phone number.
Yeah. Susan's asking, where do we get the QR code? Thanks has QR code functionality built in. So whenever you build the message side of your card, you can actually specify URL and it creates the QR code automatically. If you're going to put, as you saw ARP had a couple of examples, if you were going to manually put a QR code on that side of the card, then you would use a QR code generation service to put it in the Canvas side.
Yeah. So you can see I got a bunch of them here. I use the site, I think it's like qr-monkey.com, because it lets you set the color so that, let's say if we want to have a QR code with the EXP yellow, then we could do that. You just need to know what that hex code is.
Awesome. Great. And Art, this was a really good overview of the postcards in Canva. You can do the letterheads in here as well, right?
Yes.
And I think the easiest way to do that, is to use the thanks.io design button, and then it'll open up the letter template, I think.
Yeah.
So if you want, I could take that. Oh, you're in there. Okay, great.
Yeah. All right. So let's say I got here by clicking the wizard and the send now wizard button right up here in the upper left. Oh wait, we want to design, not send, right?
Yeah, you can just go to the image. That's a good point. Again, you can design from the send now editor, guys, but it is probably best practice to just go to the image templates page whenever you're making designs.
So I'm on image templates. I notice I don't have any letters here, so I'm just going to click design letter and let you know exactly that we need to have some space for the address and leave the bottom 2/3 for the writing.
Yep. And you can either just do it blank as Art did a minute ago, or I have done in the past. I've grabbed one of these templates they give you and just kind of remove the things that are that I don't need.
Yeah, let's try this one. So if it takes a second, it's adding the elements there before. Now it's clickable. So we know that this part top up here is going to be used for the address
window.
We want to make sure that you can click on something, just hit the delete button on your keyboard and it goes away.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Art, and I'll share with everybody else. Soon we're going to have windowless letters. So you'll actually be able to use all that real estate, because there won't be the need to have the address on the actual letter itself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's a common request that people ask all the time. So I'm glad to hear that's coming.
Yep.
Yes, in this case, we might want to move some of the stuff down.
Yeah.
Now this format is a little bit different than we might consider using for our letters because people might want to have more text. So you have to be careful about when you're adding the text that you only use it on add some to the left side.
And it's important to note here, we've seen some confusion around this. You're going to want to take the text out of Canva. The text, the handwriting is actually added by thanks.io in the body section of the letter. So yeah, I'd probably just get rid of everything on the right too. It's probably just a bad template example.
Yeah, it is. It's an awful template example. I regret picking it.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Let's see. Maybe
That
this
one.
That's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Because this would just be, we could just move this a little bit out of the way, so make sure that there's room for the address. And this part could just stay down here. We'll just say that that's going to be underneath the text.
Yep.
And we could just, everything over here can be removed. Now we do have a little space
Up top
between, up here on the right side, where if we want, we could take, for example, this element and just move it over here and then just shrink it. But of course, that'll change once we have our new windowless letters. Yep. So this gives us all this space over here for the letter content.
Yep. And then when you save it, it gets pulled in.
Yep.
And really with Letterhead, you probably only end up doing it one time because it's going to be your letterhead whenever you're sending a letter, and you just kind of personalize it to yourself. And then, it'll give you the preview, and you'll know that you've kind of not put anything in the sections that.
So I can actually just go and just edit that real quick. So I'm just going to call it letterhead. Oops. Okay, I'll close that. Now, if I want to edit this, I can mouse over it and just hit the Canva button.
That's a really good point. So any of your existing designs, guys, you always click the Canva button and go back into it.
So this was a little bit, there's the return address started here. So I want to move this probably about there. And then hit save. And we'll get a quick preview to see whether that was right or not. There, that's good.
Yeah. And you were probably fine before it was,
Yeah, but we want to make sure that it's nice and clear.
Yep. So yeah, thanks, Arp. That's really good. I'm sure there's lots more pointers that we didn't get. Just so everybody knows, if you're on the business plan and you want Arp or Shane, you want our team to just kind of knock something out quick for you. There are some buttons at the top of the dashboard in thanks.io if you're on the business plan that will allow you to just click. Arp will get your kind of order, so to speak, and you usually just do a little back and forth, right, Arp, and make sure everything's.
Yep. Yeah, do it all by email. Like every so often, like we might want customer likes to have a phone call, so we can they can tell me what they're looking for and stuff. So, and that's fine too.
Cool. So I'm gonna grab back the screen. You're welcome to hang, Arp. I wanted to show the customization of the front side designs, and also we have a few questions in the chat that we'll address as well. So bring my screen back here. So on the actual message side of the cards, guys, which if you're new to Thanks, maybe you want to see this. I'll bring up another real estate example. Look at that card here. Oops. It's an example of a thanks for visiting my real estate website. So you'll see here, we have our fonts, that get written in, and we have, this is where the QR code is generated right here. So you put the URL up there for the person who asked about that. And you do have the ability to create a background file that you upload with the message template right here. And Arp, this is kind of new, right? You used to have to do it somewhere else, but you can actually do it directly from the message now.
Yes.
So
it used to be in the account settings.
Yep. So if you want this side to have stuff behind the text, just know that you're able to build those in Canva and then upload the file. It doesn't integrate the same way. You'd have to build it, and then you would choose and you would upload the file here. So it's not, for my money, Arp, I've never done one. I think it could be cool, if you want to have an extra arrow or some more branding on this side, but it's also one of those things where, what's that?
Yeah, I think what some people like is that they could put a little signature at the bottom so that they can have, let's say, maybe their face and their contact information just personalized a little bit. Or some folks will also add a call to action of some sort, or their logo in that area next to where the QR code is.
right up in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does look sharp. So you do have that real estate to use. Yeah, true. So, and then all you're doing is you're just kind of, there is a PSD file in our settings section for anybody who wants to use their designer to do that, or if you're familiar, it'll kind of give you a guide, a template for where to put stuff. So that, I think that mostly covers Thanks.io design stuff. Just the way to think about it is, hey, all of my image design stuff is in image templates. Remember that you do have the ability to put custom images on the message side of the card, and that all of these images are referenced when you're building out campaigns, for example. So I'll go to campaigns and say, this will answer Joe or Jeff's question. Sorry, Jeff, I don't see it there. I'm getting your name wrong. Yeah, Jeff's question about how to schedule postcards like yearly anniversaries or house sales or birthdays. So let's just say I want to send an annual birthday card to everybody on a specific list. Well, I can say, hey, my birthday card is this postcard, right? And it's this image template. So this is where the design is referenced. So it might be this one right here. And then this message template. And then it will send automatically to this mailing list. So a little abstract, but let's say I had a birthday mailing list in here instead of Ryan's real estate website list. And then my sending style would be birthday. So whenever the birth date of that contact in the mailing list is coming, it will send out a birthday card every year, or the happy anniversary card, or whatever you're doing. And then I'll also mention for people who aren't familiar is that you can do days after added and do it like drip email. So you can say, hey, I want this card to go out on day 1. You do another one and say, I want them to get it 7 days later. And this is actually a feature that we've used internally to grow Thanks.io. For those of you who've received some of our samples in the mail, what we do is we'll send you one postcard and you might see a letter like a month later to remind you to come back and use the system. And you can use that functionality the same way in your business, kind of drip direct mail out. But for the point of this purposes of this webinar, that's where the designs are referenced from in here. And then if you're doing Zapier, tying it up to your shopping cart or CRM or something, just keep in mind that you're going to be choosing the image name. So this image name is what you're going to need to know in order to do some of the API and Zapier stuff. So Jeff's asking, how did I open the schedule campaign window? It's just an option right here on the left side under campaigns. That's where all those objectives or all those actions are handled. So in my main account, just to give you an idea, we have all kinds of campaigns, and the way it kind of works is it's tied to a mailing list. So when I get a lead for Thanks.io from a Facebook ad, it sends these 3 things. It sends a letter, postcard, and a gift card at staggered dates right here. Just to give you some context on what that might look like. Yep, no problem. Let me just make sure we didn't miss any questions. I don't think so. Art, this was really helpful. I learned a few things about Canva myself.
Glad to be of help.
But maybe my designs will be a little less ugly moving forward. I usually just have you guys do it, but
yeah.
But another design tip. So if you don't want to design, I have found that these just a colored background, an arrow, and text. Sometimes it'll get you where you need to be. It just depends what you're doing. If you want something more branded, then go the ARP and professional designer route. Have our team do it. But if you're doing something kind of down and dirty and it's more like lead generation focused, you might get away with something down and dirty. And that's what I'll kind of leave you with is design is really cool. You can do some really great stuff with this platform, but you should also keep in mind that more important than design is what you're offering. That will trump everything. So make sure that what you're trying to get people to do is clear. You're making a call to action for something that they actually want to interact with. Anything else to add, Art?
Well, I'd say simplicity definitely works. Like the busier it is, the harder it is for the eye to focus on what's the important things. You want to make sure that when it's obvious that your headline is the headline, and there's a difference in text size between your headline and your call to action. I actually did have a question. Like, are there any advantages to using the QR code that we print on the message side versus putting a QR code in the design?
The biggest message, maybe you're a plant for me, but thanks for bringing this up. The biggest the biggest advantage is that if the QR code that you natively put into a message template on Thanks is scanned, so let's just look at this one. If it's scanned, you'll be notified. So you'll get an email from Thanks saying, hey, so-and-so scanned this. And you also have the ability to trigger Zapier actions on scans. So if you want to send your CRM something through Zapier and say, hey, tag this person or trigger a smart campaign or something like that, our QR codes are interactive in that way. If you create your own QR code with QR-monkey like ARP does, it's not going to have that functionality. So thanks, ARP. I got to know, did you ask that just to lead me there, or did you really want to?
No, I did, because it's like, as much as I'm designing stuff, I'm also thinking practically for our customers. So, a lot of times they'll want a QR code and they're like, they imagine it on design, say, okay, we can do it on design, but just so you know, if we do it on the back, then this is what your options are. And I think, I don't know, do we have any data regarding whether those QR codes on the front or back have better scan rates?
I don't know front versus back. It varies so much on the offer. I know that internally, it has paid for me to constantly be changing the offers for Thanks.io. So I have a card now. It's this ugly leave money on the table card. It's getting a much higher scan rate, but it was the same offer. It's this stop leaving money on the table. The message didn't change at all, but I'm getting 2 or 3 times. It feels like a lot more scans on this card than the old design I was using. So it does pay to play with that, and just learn for your own business what's going to work and what isn't. There's something else. Oh, another tip, back to your earlier question. You could create the QR here, take a screenshot of this, and then put it on the other side of the card.
Yeah, that's true.
And it should, because it really what it's doing is going to the URL that tracks. It'll behave the same way and let you know that it was scanned.
Excellent. I'm going to keep that in mind because I hadn't thought about that. So thanks.
Yeah. Yep. So one more question. Let's see. Where do you get the Thanks.io code to use in the image on the front? Thanks.io code. I'm not sure. Oh, you mean the QR code? Well, what I was just saying is you could use the one that you create on your message template. You could then screenshot it and then manually use Canva to put it on there. So I'm using my screenshotting software. Earlier, Arp said he was using a third-party platform to create colored QR codes. You might want to do that too. But if you want it to scan, you could copy the one that Thanks builds. And then Jeff's asking, if you send by emails, do commas mess everything up? I believe both examples you sent will work, Jeff. But you might want to test them. If you waste a few credits testing them, let me know and I'll add those credits back for you. And the way you'll know if it worked or not, you'll just see the order created in your system and you can just cancel it right away. So try it both ways. I haven't tried it in a while. But in general, the address format, we do like having the commas between each of the things. So the street address, the name, comma, street address, comma, city, comma, state, comma, zip code. But I think the system is smart enough to kind of interpret some cases around that where there isn't or is a comma. All right. Cool. Thank you for the great questions, everybody. Hopefully you found this useful. We'll be back Thursday. We won't always have an awesome guest like Arp. Arp, I hope to get you on these more, but sometimes it'll just be me twiddling my thumbs, and if you come, we'll just help you on your specific stuff. And sometimes we'll have a topic like today, but definitely do feel free to show up to these. I'll also remind everybody that we do have an affiliate program. If you want to share Thanks.io with your friends, it's ThanksAffiliates.com. You can go there. It's 50% recurring on our business plan. We have a number of people who do really well with that. Just kind of, they pay for their own cards and then some. The use of the system just by telling a few people about it. So we'll check that out. And then if you're on our business plan, you've got access to our talents. Just use that button at the top of the Thanks.io dashboard to request some design. And that's about it. Thanks again, Art.
Hey, you're welcome.
All right, we'll get the replay live on our YouTube channel later today for anybody who wants to revisit. All right, see everybody later.
Later.